Hello, apologies for the long gap in not posting any videos. Hopefully I'll get back to doing them more regularly as of now. What we're going to look at now is a breakdown of effects of all the techniques that can be used in poetry and in media text and just generally through writing. Now this will be useful at all levels from year 9 all the way up to A level because it explains exactly why a technique may well be used, and that's really important because all the marks for picking out a technique come from explaining why they're used. Just to say you can see a simile doesn't get you any mark. The exam's not marked on say what you see. You have to actually start to explain why it's being used. So here we'll be looking at some of the techniques and some of the effects that you can actually talk about. Now, I don't want to take credit for this, by the way. This was I found it in an old book in a school that I used to teach at. So credit to the person who put this together. I will just be reading bits of it to you, hopefully explain some of it. So here we have the technique, here we have the effect, and again we'll just look down them. So why do people use puns and wordplay? Well, sometimes it can provide humour or suspense, and also invite you to question their expectations. So when you see a word, you might think of something, and then when you actually read the article, it might give you something else. So it's actually pointing something out to you, depending on the way the pun is used. The use of senses, obviously anytime you see that in writing, it's just to give you the sense of being there and to give you a chance to reflect on the content and to convey a sensory experience, which means you're actually feeling it through the senses rather than just from reading words on a page. You're actually being put in the situation. The pattern of 3 is always built to be the rhythm. So when you say he was tall, smart, handsome, for example, or she was annoying, frustrating and old, whatever it is, obviously there's a rhythm being built there. It also can add excitement and it draws the attention of the reader. In fact, that phrase there, draws the attention of the reader, is something that you can just use again and again and again all the time. It's a really good one to reference. Repetition. Well, repetition allows the reader to compare and contrast and also allows progression. So you can actually have something being drilled in, or to be able to really highlight something, or to again here like draw a parallel. If it's been if it's kind of different attitudes being shown at different times, then you can show what's consistent by using repetition of the same word. Now, similes obviously make a real clear picture for the reader. They help them to understand, and they can be used for a surprise. Sometimes like an exaggeration, especially when people are trying to do something funny. You might see a simile used because someone is a lot of jokes are actually based on the expectation of one thing and then turning around and seeing another, and the exaggeration that comes with that. So that's quite good. And obviously when we're romanticizing something, we generally try and put it in the kind of best light possible. That's why eyes get compared to emeralds, etc, etc, etc. And also you can pass along different people's perspectives. So for example, like what something like an elephant might seem as big as a bus to a child, etc, depending on how big the person looking at it is. Alliteration, syllables, etc. This is all used to convey certain sounds and effects. So like the S sound repeated might give the indication of something splashing, or if you hear a lot of kind of really hard consonant rhyme going through something, a hard consonant beginnings of words, then it might give you kind of feel of the tone of a poem. So if you said destiny destroyed something, you're just getting this repetition of D is really giving you this strong feeling of something bad happening, destiny destroying, resulting in death, something like this. Onomatopoeia, it kind of can give a lot of speed or excitement, because like words like splash, rush, whirl, they're really quite fast words, so they can actually give you a lot of pace in whatever it is you're reading. The consonants and assonants depend, that's obviously in the internal parts of the word. It can make something smooth and make it very, like the word smooth actually, it creates something very uncomfortable or comfortable, depending on how it wants to be, how long you want to carry that rhyme for, or carry that vowel sound for, should I say. And it can be used to underline something, especially when you've got like heavy repetition. I mean, a lot of songs do this, so you can pick out a lot of examples from songs. Patterns and imagery, etc., that are kind of repeated. Again, it's to emphasize and to convey a message. And remember, that's what you're looking for in a lot of higher aspects of literature. You're really looking for the symbolism and the imagery that's coming through. You don't really want to, just say, oh, because he says this, that's the end result. You really want to look at what so obviously for like say in in Gatsby, the green light in Gatsby means so many different things, even though people are just kind of looking out at it. You're not just going to say, well, he just looked at the green light. The whole point is to kind of pick up, well, what does it mean to different characters, etc., etc., etc. Enjambment is really good to allow you to continue from one line to the next, so you can kind of continue in the same vein or the same feel, the same thought. It also might allow you to increase the pace and prolong the atmosphere. Single word sentences, these are really, really great because they're normally very powerful, and I'd recommend to use them in your own writing. You know, if you just said, so a single word sentence just with the word alone, it can just represent so much in terms of the ideas and the person, everything. The one word kind of gives a very shorthand effect as well, so it's just kind of very sparse and it makes you really think about something. So there's a real suddenness to whatever is being written or said, and maybe because you're only offering one word, you're forcing the reader to interpret the ideas for themselves. So they've really got to go away and think about it and really kind of push their own understandings or something on there. So again, I just remind you, all these really good examples, when you talk about it, you say, okay, the writer uses a single word sentence to create a sense of sadness, to force the reader to. The writer uses the imagery of light to emphasize or to convey that's how you want to use it in your writing. And again, I sincerely recommend that you practice as much as you can. One line verse in contrast to longer verses, okay, that's specifically for poetry, but I mean, you could kind of take it to the idea of paragraphs as well, and it's just the idea of maybe summing up or making something small and dramatic. A conversational tone, if you kind of go there, is obviously like, say with Of Mice and Men, you've really got a really strong kind of immediacy to everything that's going on. I mean, the book only happens over a few days, and a lot of that is based on the fact that they speak to each other, because, you know, it's kind of gives us a very real, we're in there, something important's going to happen at the time, etc. And sometimes it can be unsettling because you can hear from different people's tones and gives you different perspectives. So whereas a writer would normally kind of write in a way that was had a literary sense to it, a book that you'd be studying anyway, it would have a literal sense to it, so it would be quite prosaic, quite beautifully written. But then when you have a conversation, it kind of cracks it out a little. It makes that's a really bad phrasing. It makes it actually kind of come away from the very serious and the rigid and the beautifully written. It kind of comes into a bit more of a drawl, and we can get a feel for the people. Like, I mean, Crooks in Of Mice and Men is a really good example of that. And then, like with cliches and etc., things that we use like this, we've got you can make something become irritating, or it can direct you to a feeling towards a certain character, etc. And obviously that's the kind of thing that you want to pick out. So don't just pick out that they do it, please pick out what it is exactly that they are doing when they do it, if that makes sense. Good to make a video again.